Hello and welcome to the Eating Disorder Therapist podcast. This is a podcast to help you find peace with food and overcome disordered eating. And I'm Harriet Frew, aka the Eating Disorder Therapist, and I'm so excited to share with you all kinds of stories, tips, information and guest interviews to help you on your journey in finding peace with food. So thank you so much for listening today. Now today I wanted to talk about Christmas. Now I know that it's only the end of November at the moment, but I'm already getting a lot of people who are contacting me in the DMs expressing their anxiety and worry about Christmas looming. Because if you have an eating disorder, Christmas can be such a stressful time. And I think it's even more stressful at the moment as we're on this corona coaster and we don't really know exactly yet how many people can meet together, what's going to happen. It's all up in the air and it creates even more anxiety and uncertainty than normal. And I think as well, there's often so much pressure for Christmas to be this perfect, happy time. Blame those kind of Christmas movies where it's all so happy and perfect. And I think we just really think we should be like getting on with our families, kind of playing this lovely music. It should be all serene and happy, and unfortunately it isn't often like that. If you have an eating disorder, it's very stressful around food, it's often very stressful with your relationships, and it can be really stressful being out of your routine. So I'm going to share 3 of my tips to help you cope with Christmas a little bit better. So, number 1 is don't go on a mad, crazy restriction for the next few weeks in an attempt to manage your eating so that you can then enjoy the foods that you want to enjoy at Christmas. Okay, now if you have an eating disorder and you do this, of course, you're going to be so vulnerable to out of control eating. Because all the foods that you've been denying yourself over the next few weeks, they become so seductive and special. So when you're finally exposed to them around Christmas and a bit of alcohol might be thrown into, you're so vulnerable to losing control and overeating, binge eating, and for it just to be a really miserable experience. So instead of kind of going on this big restriction for the next 3 weeks or so, think about the foods that you really do like at Christmas and that you would really genuinely love to eat and to enjoy. And what you can do is just think about when you might want to eat them over the next few weeks, rather than focusing down onto like a couple of days where it's all got to be kind of crammed in. Think about the foods that you would really love to eat and then genuinely permit them in, allow them in, but do it in a planned way. Do it with support. Do it maybe, hopefully, if lockdown finishes, out in a cafe where you have a controlled portion. Do it in a way where you can maybe be with a friend, where you can sit and eat mindfully. And above all, do it and allow yourself to genuinely enjoy the food and give yourself permission. Rather than this big restriction and then suddenly all these foods are available, maybe on Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and then you go mad, you feel out of control, you overeat, you physically feel ill, you emotionally feel terrible, and it's just not good at all. Okay, so that is my first tip. Don't do the restrict binge cycle. Okay, allow yourself those foods. Number 2, now, whatever your eating disorder, it's really helpful if you're going home or you're kind of, going somewhere for Christmas Day, Boxing Day, is to have a bit of a plan for your eating for those crucial days. Okay, don't just leave it all to chance. Think a bit ahead about what you're going to be eating, how you're going to do it. I don't mean planning down to the minute detail of kind of calories and, being really, really specific. I'm talking more about just kind of knowing that you're going to eat regularly, knowing that you've got your favourite snacks with you, knowing that you're going to kind of follow your normal routine that you generally stick to and that works for you. Now, I know as well in many families, like on Christmas Day, they often perhaps don't eat until 3 in the afternoon. Now, if you have an eating disorder, you may be absolutely starving by then. And it might mean as well that by the time you finally sit down to eat, you're again really vulnerable to out of control eating, or you may have just lost your appetite because you have been over hungry. So again, it's really important to kind of think ahead, like how are you going to manage your Christmas Day or Boxing Day? Maybe you're going to need to have some snacks earlier in the day. That's completely fine. That's really permissible. And actually, it's going to help you. It's going to help you as well to then be able to kind of manage probably when you do sit down for your Christmas dinner. So it's really important for you to do what's right for you in your recovery. And you might even want to think about where you're going to sit at the table, because you don't really want your well-intentioned auntie to be perhaps, saying to you, "Oh, you look really well," or something that's going to be very triggering and unhelpful. You might even want to think, who do I want to sit next to? Who is going to be the most supportive person? And just give that a bit of thought ahead, so you feel that you've got that bit of the day a bit more planned and kind of organised in a way that's going to work for you. And it's really helpful as well is I would talk to your family ahead to try and get their support. Now, I understand as well, not everyone's family is supportive and understanding, but maybe there's somebody in your family who can kind of have your back for the day and who can look out for you and who can maybe sort of check in with you and, do whatever it is that's going to be really helpful for you to cope better. So I'd really encourage you to have a little bit of a plan and think ahead, because the plan might not go completely smoothly, but if you feel that you have thought a bit about what you're going to eat, about your timings, about what you're going to eat, it's going to make it all a lot easier. So number 3, relationships. Okay, relationships at Christmas can be very challenging because there may be potential for family conflict. You might find that people back home don't really understand your eating disorder and say things that are not very helpful. And you might just feel really alone and isolated with your eating disorder on Christmas Day, Boxing Day. So I know, again, we don't really know if we're going to be able to socialise properly at Christmas. So this is all a bit up in the air. But it's worth thinking now that it probably is going to be a bit stressful and it could be a bit intense if you do go home. And it's just helpful to be aware of that in advance and almost to kind of lower your standards. In reality, Christmas is not usually always some perfect happy time where everybody gets on really well together. Sometimes there are conflicts. Sometimes there are just lots of kind of unsaid things and there's a bit of a tension. Maybe as well, sometimes people drink too much and you feel really uncomfortable. So really lower your expectations. It's only Christmas Day is only one day, and actually it doesn't have to be perfect. You just kind of got to get through it and have your own little strategies for managing. And if conflicts arise as well, try not to take it too personally. Try and see the humour in the situation as well. I think it's very normal when a lot of human beings are together under intense pressure to have a really good time. It can sometimes go wrong. And if I was you, I would have some good friends that I could contact throughout the day just to touch base. So if you feel that there's not anyone in your family that you can really reach out to, make sure you've got a couple of people on hand that you can either send a message to, or that you can nip outside and give them a quick call, someone that you can kind of check in with who's got your back again and really understands a bit more how hard it is for you. And also as well, allow yourself some breaks and maybe you need to go out, not for a big obsessive counting calories, steps walk, but maybe you need to get out and just have some air, get away from everyone for a bit and have some time to collect your thoughts. And, maybe you don't even need to go outside, maybe you just need to kind of go away from everyone, have a bit of quiet time, just so you can have a few kind of pauses in the day. Because I think, again, if you have an eating disorder and you're really struggling, emotionally it's going to be quite draining. And you're probably going to have to exert an awful lot of your emotional energy just to kind of get through the day. And I think it's absolutely fine to be able to take a bit of time, look after yourself and get away from it all for a little bit. So that's my final tip. Be aware that relationships can be challenging, lower those expectations and really take care of yourself. And I just say a kind of final point really, that Christmas Day is only one day of the year. It is a bit of a tricky day, but it will pass. And you will get through it. And the more you can just think ahead and just think about the little strategies that are going to help you cope, having people that you can reach out to, a little bit of planning, it's going to make the day go a lot easier. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you're not following me already, do seek me out on Instagram at the Eating Disorder Therapist. And for regular blogs to your inbox, do sign up at rethinkyourbody.co.uk. And if you sign up for my free body image booklet, then it means you'll be added to my mailing list and you'll get these regular articles to your inbox. Thank you so much for listening today, and I look forward to doing, what do I normally say there? Another podcast episode with you very soon.